The crying had been going on for 2 hours when Officer Samuel Hale finally pinpointed its location. Not crying exactly, that was the wrong word, though it's what everyone kept calling it over the radio. This sound was deliberate, measured. 3 long calls, pause, 3 long calls, pause, like someone tapping out code. Hale killed the engine of his truck and stood in the afternoon heat, listening. The sound came from beyond a cluster of juniper trees, maybe 60 yards north. His boots crunched on the gravelly soil as he moved forward, hand instinctively checking his sidearm, not to use it, just habit after 23 years. The cub sat at the edge of what looked like a natural depression in the earth, its golden coat dusty and matted, 5 months old, maybe 6. It didn't run when it saw him, didn't even flinch, just turned those amber eyes on him and made that sound again. 3 long cries. Pause. "Jesus Christ," Hale whispered. The depression was 12 feet deep. Sides carved, toothed by years of erosion, but recently collapsed in places, creating a natural trap. At the bottom, a full-grown female mountain lion lay on her side, her breathing labored, visible even from this distance. Her belly was swollen, heavily pregnant, but that wasn't what made Hale's stomach drop. It was the bones scattered around her, cattle bones, some with meat still clinging to them. Fresh enough that flies buzzed in angry clouds. Someone had been dumping carcasses here. His radio crackled. "Hale, you find the source of that noise?" He keyed the mic. "Yeah, we've got a situation out here. Adult female lion trapped in a washout depression. She's..." He paused, watching her sides heave. "Oh, she's in bad shape. Pregnant, late term." "How the hell did she..." "There's dumped livestock remains all around. Looks like someone's been baiting." Silence on the radio. Then, "That's near Garrick's property line. Marcus Garrick." Hale knew the name, knew the story. Rancher whose wife Martha had died 2 years back from an infected wound. The man had become something of a recluse since then, building fences, posting signs, but illegal dumping. That didn't track with what Hale knew of him. The cub cried again, and this time the mother tried to respond, lifting her head weakly. The sound she made was barely a whisper of what it should have been. "Elena," Hale said into the radio, "I need you out here. Bring your field kit. Copy. 20 minutes. Hale sat down slowly, keeping distance between himself and the cub. The little cat watched him, then turned back to its mother and made that sound again. 3 cries. Pause. 3 cries. Pause. It had been calling for help for hours. The lioness's eyes found his across the distance. Mountain lions didn't look at humans like that, direct, sustained. They looked through you or past you, treating you like weather or landscape. But she was looking at him, into him. Her sides contracted. A contraction. "No," Hale said aloud. "Not now. Not like this." The cub moved closer to the edge, small pebbles cascading down. It looked back at Hale once more, then began picking its way down the steep slope, half sliding, claws scrabbling for purchase. "Don't!" Hale started forward, then stopped. The cub reached its mother, pressed against her side. She lifted her head, sniffed her offspring, then let her head fall back to the dirt. A truck engine growled in the distance. Hale turned to see a dust cloud approaching, not Elena's white veterinary truck, but a beaten Ford F-150 he recognized. Marcus Garrick. The rancher parked 30 feet away and got out slowly, his weathered face unreadable under his hat brim. He carried a rifle, barrel pointed down. "Mr. Garrick," Hale said, standing. "Officer." Garrick's voice was gravelly, unused to conversation. His eyes went to the depression. That's my land starts 10 feet that way. Sir, we have an animal in distress. I can't see what we have. Garrick moved closer to the edge, looked down. His jaw tightened. How long? The cub's been calling for hours, based on the evidence. She's been down there at least 2 days. Garrick's knuckles whitened on the rifle stock. Those bones, that's not my doing. I didn't say it was. Thompson's ranch, us, Garrick spat to the sea. Young hotshot from Phoenix. Bought the place 8 months back. Said he had a predator problem. I told him to get better fencing. Guess he found another solution. The lioness cried out a real cry this time, pain-filled. Another contraction. She's going into labor, Hale said. Stress-induced. Those cubs won't survive if... Don't. Garrick's voice was sharp. Don't tell me what will or won't survive. Nature decides that. This isn't nature. Those dumped carcasses. My wife thought like you. Garrick's voice dropped. Everything could be saved. Everything deserved a chance. You know what that got her infection? Blood poisoning. 3 days of agony before her organs shut down. The cub cried again from below. 3 long calls. That's not asking for help, Garrick said. That's just noise. Animals don't ask for help. But even as he said it, his eyes stayed fixed on the scene below. The mother trying to shift position. The cub pressed against her. That rhythmic crying that wouldn't stop. Elena's truck appeared on the horizon. Dust plume trailing behind. Mr. Garrick, Hale said carefully, I need to try. It's my job. Your job, Garrick laughed, bitter and short. My wife said that too. Her job to document, her job to protect, her job to care. Elena pulled up, already pulling on gloves as she got out. Sam, what do we... She stopped, seeing Garrick, Marcus, Dr. Rodriguez. He nodded stiffly. Elena moved to the edge, looked down, and swore under her breath. She's in active labor. Those cubs are coming today, whether we help or not. She turned to Hale. We need to get her out, now. It's a 12-foot drop, Garrick said. Sheer sides. You planning to fly her out? I'm planning to try, Elena shot back. Unless you have a better idea. The old rancher was quiet for a long moment. Then, there's a livestock winch in my barn. Haven't used it in 2 years, but it should work. Hale and Elena both stared at him. Don't look at me like that, he growled. I'm not doing it for the cat, but if Thompson's been baiting predators to my property line, I want evidence. Dead lion won't testify to anything. Another cry from below, weaker this time. The cub had stopped its rhythmic calling, was now simply pressed against its mother's side, trembling. Mr. Garrick, Hale said, thank you. Don't thank me yet. That winch is old, and that cat won't exactly cooperate. This could go bad 10 different ways. As if in response, the lioness cried out again, her body convulsing. Elena grabbed her kit. It already has, she said. First cub's coming. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. Garrick's truck disappeared into the heat shimmer, tires grinding against loose stones. Elena was already on her stomach at the depression's edge, medical kit spread beside her. Presentation's wrong, she said, squinting down. The cubs turned. Hale's knees popped as he crouched beside her. The lioness's sides heaved in quick, shallow pants. Her tongue hung out, dry and pale. The smaller cub had moved away from its mother, pressed against the dirt wall. How long does she have? Hale asked. Before she's too exhausted to push. Maybe an hour. Elena pulled back, dirt clinging to her shirt. Sam, even if we get her out, We get her out. Elena's mouth tightened. She'd been Danny's doctor, too, those last months. Never said the words Hale wanted to hear then either. The radio clicked. Morrison's voice, young and eager. "Officer Hale, Sheriff wants an update." Hale grabbed the handset. "Tell Brennan we have a situation under control. He's asking about public safety protocols. Says if there's a lion that close to, it's contained." Hale cut the connection. Elena was digging through her kit, pulling out syringes. "You know Brennan's going to make this political. Elections in 3 months." "Let him." The lioness made a sound half growl, half moan. Her back legs kicked against nothing. The cub crept back toward her, mewing like a house cat. "That's not normal," Elena said. "Cubs that age don't vocalize like that unless—" She stopped, peering closer. "Sam, look at its right foreleg." Hale saw it. A dark line through the fur, dried blood. "Wire cut," Elena continued. "Not deep, but infected. That's why it couldn't hunt for her." The pieces clicked. The cub hadn't just been calling for help. It had been trying to feed its mother, failing, watching her grow weaker. How many rabbits had it tried to catch with that injured leg? How many times had it come back empty-handed? Dust rose in the west, Garrick's truck returning, something large in the bed. "There's something else," Elena said, her voice dropping. "See those bones, the way they're scattered?" Hale looked. The carcass remains formed almost a circle around the lioness. "She's been moving them," Elena continued, "arranging them. Lions don't do that unless—" The truck's engine cut off. Garrick's door slammed. "Unless what?" Elena met his eyes. "Unless they're trying to hide." "Hiding from what?" Hale asked. Elena's answer was cut off by the screech of metal against metal. Garrick was dragging the winch assembly from his truck bed, rust flaking off the steel frame. Morrison's patrol car pulled up behind him, the young officer jumping out before the engine fully died. "Sheriff's on his way," Morrison called. "Wants the area secured?" Garrick dropped the winch frame with a clang. "Secured from what the cat that can't climb out of a hole?" The lioness cried out again. Her muscles rippled beneath the dust-caked fur, another contraction rolling through her body. The cub pressed closer, that strange mewing sound constant now. "We need to work fast," Elena said, standing. "Morrison, help Mr. Garrick with that equipment. Sam, we need to figure out how to get a harness on her." "A harness?" Garrick straightened, his back cracking. "You planning to ask her to step into it?" "The alternative is sedation," Elena said, "which could kill the cubs." Hale moved to the truck, pulled out the rescue equipment bag. The canvas harness inside was designed for cattle, reinforced with steel rings. It would hold a lion's weight, but getting it on her was another matter. "There's something you should see, Morrison said from the depression's edge. He held up his phone, showing game camera footage. "This is from Thompson's property. 2 nights ago." The grainy night vision video showed the lioness moving through frame, belly heavy with pregnancy. She paused, looked behind her. Then 3 other shapes appeared, lean, muscled, male lions. "That's impossible," Elena said. "Males don't range this far north." "They do, if someone's been feeding them," Garrick said. He spat tobacco juice into the dirt. "Thompson's been bringing cats in from all over, building his own little killing field." The lioness had been running. Pregnant, exhausted, she'd been fleeing from males who would kill her cubs the moment they were born. The depression hadn't trapped her, it had saved her. "How long until Brennan gets here?" Hale asked Morrison. 15 minutes, maybe 20. "Then we move now." Hale grabbed the harness, rope coiled over his shoulder. "Elena, what do I need to know?" "She's weak, but not helpless. Those claws still work. And Sam," Elena grabbed his arm, "if she starts delivering while you're down there, do not touch the cub. She'll take your hand off." Hale nodded, moved to the edge. The walls weren't quite vertical, maybe an 80-degree angle. Handholds existed, but they were crumbling shale that would dissolve under weight. "I'll anchor the safety line," Garrick said, wrapping rope around his truck's trailer hitch. "You fall. You're on your own." The first few feet were easy. Hale's boots found purchase on embedded rocks, his hands gripping exposed roots. The cub watched from below, silent now. Its mother's eyes tracked his descent. Pupils dilated despite the afternoon sun. Halfway down, the wall crumbled. Hale's left foot shot through empty air, his full weight yanking on his handholds. Shale rained down, pelting the lioness. She tried to move away but could only drag herself a few inches. "You all right?" Elena called. Hale found new footing, continued down. The smell hit him harder with each foot of descent, rotting meat, something else. Fear. The lioness was terrified. His boots touched bottom. The cub scrambled backward, pressing against its mother's spine. This close, Hale could see the lioness's ribs through her coat, the way her breathing came in short gasps. Her eyes never left his face. "Easy," he said, keeping his voice low. "Just need to help you." He took a step forward. The lioness bared her teeth, a rumble building in her chest that he felt in his own ribs. But she didn't lunge. Couldn't. Another contraction hit. Her whole body seized, back arching. A gush of fluid soaked the ground beneath her. The cub mewed frantically, pawing at her side. "First one's coming," Elena shouted from above. "You've got maybe 2 minutes before crowning." Hale unfolded the harness, the metal rings clanking. The lioness's eyes tracked the movement. He needed to get it under her chest, around her front legs. 2 feet of space between them. Might as well be a mile. "Sam," Garrick's voice from above. "Company?" The sound of vehicles. "Multiple engines." Hale looked up to see 3 trucks pulling up Thompson's crew. 4 men got out, rifles visible. "What the hell are you doing?" Thompson's voice carried down. "Young, aggressive. That's a dangerous animal. Protocol says we attempt rescue first," Elena shot back. "Like hell. That cat's been killing my stock for weeks." "Your stock?" Garrick's voice was dangerous. "Or the carcasses you've been dumping to bait them in silence above." Then Thompson again. "You can't prove that." The lioness convulsed. The cub's crowd scrambled away as fluid splashed across the dirt. Hale saw it, a tiny paw, emerging, then retreating. "The cub's stuck," he called up. "It's coming out wrong." "You have to turn it," Elena called. "Reach in and—" "Are you insane?" Thompson's voice. "He's not playing veterinarian with a wild lion." More engines. Sheriff Brennan's SUV. Lights flashing. Hale heard doors slamming, voices arguing above. The lioness's eyes rolled back, showing white. Her breathing went shallow, rapid. The cub was dying, maybe already dead. And if it didn't come out soon, the mother would follow. Hale dropped the harness, moved closer. The lioness's head snapped toward him, but the snarl died in her throat. She was too weak. Her eyes found his again, and in them he saw something that stopped his breath. Recognition, not of him, but of what was happening. She knew her cub was dying, knew she was dying, and she was looking at him the way Danny had looked at him that last night, not for miracles, just for someone to be there when it ended. "Everybody shut up," Hale shouted. The voices above ceased. Elena, talk me through it." "Sam, you can't talk me through it." He knelt beside the lioness, inches from those claws. The emerging paw was blue-gray. No movement. He reached out slowly, his hand trembling. The lioness's head turned toward him, her jaw opened, fangs yellow in the afternoon light. Then Morrison's voice, high and scared. "There's something moving in the rocks." Hale looked up. Along the rim of the depression, shadows shifted between the boulders. Yellow eyes reflected the sun. The males had found her. 3 males! Hale counted them through the gaps in his peripheral vision, massive heads, manes dark against the red rocks. The closest one, maybe 40 pounds heavier than the female below him, paced along the rim, testing. "Nobody shoot!" Brennan's voice carried down, tight with forced control. "Nobody move!" The lioness's body convulsed beneath Hale's hands. The tiny paw protruding from her birth canal hadn't moved, no pulse in the delicate pad when he pressed his finger against it. But the second cub behind it, that one might live if he could clear the way. "Thompson, you brought them here." Garrick's accusation cut through the stillness. "These aren't local cats." "You're crazy, old man. Local males don't have scars from snare traps. That big one, see his right shoulder, that's wire damage. These cats were relocated from somewhere else." The largest male dropped lower, muscles bunching, testing the wall's stability. Shale cascaded down, rattling against Hale's back. The lioness tried to lift her head, a weak growl bubbling in her throat, protecting cubs that weren't even born yet. "Sam," Elena's voice deliberately calm, "you need to remove the first cub. Grip behind the shoulders, pull steady with the contractions." Hale's hands were already slick with amniotic fluid. He worked his fingers around the tiny body, feeling the soft bones, the matted fur. The lioness's eye rolled toward him, pupil dilated, so wide the gold had disappeared. "That's it," Elena coached. "Now wait for the next." The contraction hit. Hale pulled, feeling the resistance. Then sudden give. The cub slid free stillborn, body limp, never took a breath. He set it aside gently, aware of the mother's gaze following the movement. Above, metal clicked against metal. Rifle bolts. "I said nobody shoots," Brennan barked. "Sheriff, those males are hunting." Thompson's voice pitched higher. "They'll go down there, and they're not hunting." That was Morrison. Younger voice shaking, but certain. "Look at them. They're waiting." The kid was right. The males weren't displaying typical hunting behavior. No stalking, no coordination. They held position, watching. The largest one's scarred muzzle lifted, nostrils flaring, scenting blood. But also something else. "Elena, her ear," Hale called, noticing black markings on the inner fold. "There's a tattoo? Read it to me." Hale leaned closer. The lioness too weak to react. "F42, AZ20 palins above." Then Elena. "Christ, Sam, she's one of the original 20, the reintroduction program from 3 years ago." "The ones they said all died or disappeared?" Garrick added. "She didn't disappear. She adapted." Elena's voice carried an edge. "She's been out here 3 years, successfully integrated, and now..." Another contraction. The lioness's muscles rippled, and Hale saw the second cub's nose emerge, pink and vital. This one was positioned correctly. That changes things legally. Brennan said above. "She's federally protected." To Thompson. "If you've been baiting protected animals..." "I haven't baited anything. These cats showed up on their own, with snare scars." Garrick spat. "From where?" "Phoenix, Tucson." "Where'd you truck them in from?" The second cub's head emerged, then shoulders. Hale guided it rather than pulled, letting the mother's body do the work. The tiny creature slipped free in a rush of fluid, landing in his cupped hands. It writhed, mouth opening in a silent mew. "Soskiku." "It's alive," he called up. The original cub, the one who'd been calling for help, crept forward. Its injured leg dragged slightly, but it moved with purpose toward its new sibling. The lioness made a sound, almost inaudible, and the older cub began licking the newborn with quick, efficient strokes. Movement above. The largest male had found a path down not into the depression, but onto a ledge, 8 feet above Hale. Close enough to leap? "Easy shot from here," Thompson said. "You pull that trigger, you're under arrest." Brennan's voice carried absolute authority. Federal protection means federal charges. You want to explain to voters why you let a man get mauled. I want to explain why we're not executing an animal that's been illegally persecuted. The male lowered into a crouch. Hale could see individual whiskers, scars mapping across the broad nose. But the cat's attention wasn't on him. Those yellow eyes fixed on the lioness, on the newborn cub being cleaned by its sibling. "Morrison," Elena said suddenly, "show me that game footage again. The full clip. Now we're kind of, show me." Sounds of movement above. Then Elena's sharp intake. "Sam, the males in the video, one of them is collar-scarred. Same pattern as the one above you. So male lions don't hunt pregnant females. They follow them to kill the cubs after birth and bring her back into estrus." The biological imperative. Hale understood suddenly why the lioness had hidden in the depression, why she'd arranged the carcasses as camouflage. She'd been trying to mask the scent of birth. Another contraction rolled through her body. The third cub wasn't coming. "There's another one," Hale said. "But she's not pushing anymore." The lioness's breathing had changed shallow, rapid pants. Her eyes started to glaze, shock setting in. "She's bleeding internally," Elena said. "The first cub probably tore something." The male above shifted weight, preparing. "Mr. Garrick," Hale said, not taking his eyes off the cat. "That winch still work. Haven't tested it in 2 years. Test it now. You want to winch her out while she's in labor, while those males are. I want to winch her out before she dies." The newborn cub mewed, the sound thin but real. The male's ears swiveled toward it. Instinct would drive him to kill it, to eliminate another male's genetics. But he hadn't moved yet. "Why isn't he attacking?" Morrison asked. Hale saw it then, the male's right foreleg. The fur was worn away in a band, skin scarred beneath, not from a snare trap, from a collar. This cat had been someone's research animal, tagged and monitored, and then what? Released abandoned. "These aren't wild males," Hale said. "They're dumps. Someone's been collecting problem cats and releasing them here." "That's illegal as hell," Brennan said. "So is letting them die," Thompson shot back, but his voice lacked conviction now. The winch motor coughed to life above, belching black smoke. The lioness's eyes flickered toward the sound. She tried to move, to position herself between her cubs and the perceived threat, but only managed to drag herself inches through the dirt. "Sam," Elena said, "we need to make a choice. Try to deliver the third cub, or get her up now and hope it survives transport." The male above stood, muscles coiling, not to attack, to leave. The sound of the motor had decided something for him. He turned, bounded up the rocks in 2 fluid leaps, disappeared into the junipers. The other males followed, shadows flowing through shadows. "They're gone," Morrison breathed, but Hale barely heard him. The lioness's breathing had stopped, her eyes still open, still aware, but her chest wasn't moving. The newborn cub crawled toward her belly, seeking warmth that was fading. "She's not breathing," Hale said. Then louder, "She's not breathing. Start compressions," Elena commanded. "2 hands, behind the shoulder blade. Pump hard." Hale positioned himself, placed his palms against the coarse fur. The lioness's eye tracked to him, and in it he saw not fear or anger, but something worse, resignation. Hale's palms pressed into the lioness's ribcage. The bone bent under pressure, springing back. Her eye stayed fixed on his face, gold fading to amber, amber to brown. Press, release, press, release. His shoulders burned. Sweat ran into his eyes. "Harder!" Elena called. "You need to circulate oxygen to the cubs, too." The lioness's body rocked with each compression. The older cub backed away, dragging its injured leg, pulling the newborn with its teeth by the scruff. Protective instinct even at 5 months old. Press, release. 30 compressions. Hale tilted her massive head back, sealed his mouth over her nostrils, breathed out hard. Her whiskers scraped his cheek. The taste of blood and dirt filled his mouth. Nothing. Again. Her chest expanded with his breath, but didn't continue on its own. "Keep going," Elena commanded. "Back to compressions." His arm shook. Under his hands, he felt something shift the third cub, moving inside her, still alive in a dying mother. "Garrick, get that harness down here," Hale gasped between compressions. "She's gone, son." "She's not gone until Elena says she's gone. Get the harness down here now." Rope snaked down the wall, the canvas harness attached. Morrison rappelled after it, his duty belt clanking against the rock. The young officer's face was pale but determined. "What do you need?" Morrison asked. "Take over compressions when I say." Hale's count hit 30. He breathed for her again, feeling the resistance in her lungs. When he pulled back, her eye had closed, then a shudder. Her ribs expanded on their own, once, twice, shallow, but real. "She's breathing," Hale called up. "Barely," Elena responded. "We need her up here now. The third cub needs surgical delivery." And Morrison and Hale worked the harness under her front legs while she panted. Too weak to resist, the older cub circled them. That strange, mewing constant now, like a distress beacon that wouldn't shut off. The newborn lay still except for the tiny rise and fall of its breathing. "Thompson," Sheriff Brennan's voice carried down, "you and your men are going to help with this rescue. That's not a request. Sheriff, I don't think. You brought those males here. Game cameras will prove it. You can help fix this mess, or I can arrest you right now for violating federal wildlife protection laws. Choose." Footsteps above, multiple people moving. The winch motor revved higher. "Harness is secure," Morrison called. The cable went taut. The lioness's front end lifted slightly, her back legs dragging. She made a sound, not quite a growl, more like a question. Her eye opened, found Hale. "Slow," Elena directed. "If she panics and thrashes, she could hemorrhage." The mechanical whine of the winch filled the depression, inch by inch. The lioness rose. Her back legs hung limp, but her front paws flexed, claws extending and retracting. The older cub followed beneath her, as crying continuously. "Stop!" Hale commanded when she was 3 feet off the ground. Something was wrong. Dark fluid dripped from her birth canal too much too fast. "She's bleeding bad." "We can't deliver the cub here," Elena said. "Keep going." They raised her another foot. The bleeding increased, pattering onto the dirt like rain. The lioness's head lolled back, eyes rolling white. "She's going into shock," Elena said. "Morrison, climb up. Sam, you need to support her abdomen. Keep pressure on it while we lift." Hale positioned himself beneath her, hands pressing up against her swollen belly. He could feel the third cub inside, could feel the muscles trying to contract but failing. Blood soaked through his shirt, hot and thick. The winch strained. 6 feet up now, the edge of the depression still 6 feet above. "It's going to snap," Garrick warned. "Cable's 20 years old." "It'll hold," Brennan said, but uncertainty colored his voice. 8 feet. The lioness's breathing went ragged. The cub inside her had stopped moving. "Oh, no," Morrison said from above. "Mr. Garrick, look at your fence line." Hale couldn't see what they were looking at, but he heard Garrick curse. "More of them?" Brennan asked. "No. Trucks? 3? No. 4 pickups? Coming fast. Thompson's crew." "Not mine," Thompson said quickly. "I don't know who." "It's the Hendersons," Morrison said, "and the Warrens, and that's half the valley's ranchers." The lioness was 10 feet up now. Blood ran down Hale's arms. The older cub had climbed partway up the wall, trying to follow but couldn't manage with its injured leg. "What do they want?" Brennan's voice was tight. "Same thing. We always want." A new voice answered. Hale recognized it. Bill Henderson owned the largest cattle operation in 3 counties. "To handle our own problems." "This is a law enforcement matter," Brennan said. "This is a livestock matter. Sheriff, that cat's been killing calves for months." "You don't know that," Garrick cut in. "I know what I know, and I know we've got a problem that needs solving." The winch stopped. The lioness hung suspended at the lip of the depression, half in, half out. The cable groaned. "Pull her the rest of the way," Hale shouted. "Can't," Garrick replied. "Winch is at maximum extension. Someone needs to drag her onto level ground." "I'm not touching that thing," one of the ranchers said. "Then get out of the way." That was a woman's voice. Sarah Chen, who ran the restaurant in town. "Tom Warren, Bill Henderson, you should be ashamed. This is a mother trying to have babies. It's a predator it's a living thing that needs help. Now move." Sounds of struggle above. The lioness's body swayed, the cable creaking ominously. Her eye found Hale's again, still aware, somehow, still watching him. "Sam," Elena said, her voice strange. "The 3rd cub. I can see the position through the abdomen wall. It's breech, but worse. It's a transverse lie, sideways. Can you turn it?" "Not without opening her up, and we don't have time. She's lost too much blood." The older cub made it to the top, scrambled over the edge. It immediately went to its mother's head, licking her face, crying in that broken, desperate way. "So what do we do?" Hale asked, though he already knew the answer. "We choose. Save her and lose the cub, or try for both and probably lose both." More vehicles arriving above, voices arguing. Someone shouted about property rights. Someone else yelled about compassion. The cable holding the lioness vibrated with the tension. There's something else," Elena said, leaning down so only Hale could hear. "Sarah's right that she's been killing calves, but not for food. The injuries on the game camera footage she's been defending. The males have been hunting livestock, and she's been driving them off. She's been protecting the herds." Hale's hands were numb from blood loss and pressure, but he kept them pressed against the lioness's abdomen. Inside, he felt the 3rd cub shift slightly. Still alive, but not for long. "We save her," he said. "The cub, we save her." Elena nodded, already preparing syringes. "We need to get her fully up first." "I'll pull her," Sarah Chen announced. "Tom, Bill, either help or stand back." "Sarah, that's a wild—" "It's a mother, Tom. I've pulled calves and foals. This isn't different. It's completely different. That thing could—" A crack like a gunshot. The cable snapped. The lioness dropped, her full weight slamming into Hale. He went down hard, her body pinning him, driving the air from his lungs. His head hit rock. Stars exploded across his vision. The lioness's eye was inches from his, still conscious, still watching. Her mouth opened, showing yellowed fangs, She didn't bite, just panted, quick and shallow, as her life drained into the dirt. Above, chaos, shouting, running. Someone screaming about getting another rope. But Hale couldn't move. The lioness's weight crushed him into the ground. Her blood soaked into the earth around them. The third cub inside her had stopped moving entirely. And in her eye, that terrible recognition remained. She knew she was dying, knew her cub was dying, and she was waiting for him to do something about it. The lioness's weight pressed Hale into the ground, 600 pounds of muscle and bone. His ribs creaked. Each breath came shallow, compressed. Her blood pooled around them, soaking through his shirt, warm, becoming cool in the desert air. "Sam!" Elena's voice, sharp with panic. He tried to answer. No air. His diaphragm couldn't expand. The lioness's head rested against his shoulder, her breathing matching his quick, insufficient sips of oxygen. Feet scrambled down the wall. Morrison's boots appeared in Hale's peripheral vision. Then the young officer's hands on the lioness's shoulder, pulling. "Can't move her alone!" Morrison gasped. "She's too heavy." "Coming down?" That was Garrick, his voice rough. More boots. The wall showered pebbles and dust. The lioness's eye tracked the movement, but her body remained limp. The weight on Hale's chest shifted slightly as Morrison pulled, enough for him to grab a fuller breath. "Her spine," Hale wheezed. "Check her spine." Elena rappelled down, medical kit banging against her hip. She ran her hands along the lioness's back, pressing between vertebrae. The cat didn't react. "Paralyzed from mid-back," Elena confirmed. The fall broke something. "The cub," Hale managed. "Still inside." Elena's hands moved to the swollen abdomen. Her face went tight. No heartbeat. "The cub's gone." The lioness's eye moved to Elena, then back to Hale. The pupil had contracted to a pinpoint despite the growing shadows. Her tongue protruded slightly, dry and pale. "We need leverage," Morrison said. "Mr. Garrick, if you take the haunches." "Wait," Elena held up her hand. "If we move her wrong, we could sever whatever nerves are still functioning. She could die instantly." "She's dying anyway," Garrick said, but his voice lacked conviction. Above them, the arguing had intensified. Bill Henderson's voice boomed, "This is what happens when you interfere with nature. Now a man's trapped under a dying predator." "You want to talk about interfering," Sarah Chen shot back. "Thompson's been trucking in problem cats for months. This is his mess. I never—" Thompson started. "Your ranch hand already admitted it." Sheriff Brennan cut in. "Miguel told me everything. You've been buying trapped cats from down south, releasing them here, then claiming predator problems to get depredation permits." The lioness's breathing hitched. Blood frothed at her nostrils. Internal bleeding getting worse. "Elena," Hale said, "cut the cub out." "What? She's dying. Cut the cub out. Maybe it's not too late." Elena looked at the lioness, at the blood pooling in the dirt. "Sam, I can't perform surgery here. No sterile field, no proper tools." "You have a scalpel." "Yes, but then do it." The lioness's eye was still on his face. He moved his hand slowly, placed it on her neck. Her pulse fluttered against his palm, rapid and weak. "Mr. Garrick," Elena said, "I need light." "All the light you can get." Garrick climbed back up, moving faster than a man his age should, within seconds. Flashlight beams started hitting the depression floor. Headlights from the trucks positioned above cast harsh shadows. Elena pulled on surgical gloves, the latex snapping in the quiet. She took out a scalpel, the blade catching the light. "Morrison, hold her shoulder steady. Don't let her thrash if she feels this." But the lioness didn't move as Elena made the first incision. Her eye stayed on Hale's face, blinking slowly. The blade parted fur into skin, revealing pink muscle beneath. Blood welled, but not as much as should have, her blood pressure dropping. "I see the uterus," Elena murmured. Another incision, careful and precise. The older cub appeared at the depression's edge above, crying down at them. That broken, desperate sound echoed off the walls. Its mother's ear twitched toward the sound, but nothing else moved. "There," Elena breathed. She reached into the incision, her hands disappearing into the lioness's body. "Got it." She pulled out the cub, a limp form covered in birth membranes bigger than the others, which had caused the breach. Male, perfect, formed but motionless. Elena cleared its airway with her finger, sucked fluid from its nose with a bulb syringe. "Nothing." She placed her mouth over its tiny muzzle. Breathed gently, once, twice. The lioness's eye followed every movement. "Come on," Elena whispered. She rubbed the cub's chest with her thumb. Quick circles, breathed for it again. A twitch, then a small gasp. The cub's mouth opened. Taking its first breath, a weak mule escaped, barely audible. "It's alive," Morrison said, wonder in his voice. Elena placed the cub against its mother's face. The lioness's nostril flared, taking in the scent. Her tongue moved slightly, trying to lick, but too weak to manage it. The cub nuzzled against her cheek, instinctively seeking warmth. "We need to move her now," Elena said. "She's hemorrhaging internally, without surgery." She stop-bopped, looked at the blood soaking into the earth, even with surgery. "Then we get her up," Garrick called from above. "Henderson, Warren, get your asses over here. We're doing this by hand." "I'm not risking my men." "Then go home," Sarah Chen interrupted. "Tom, Bill, either you help or you're going to explain to everyone why you let a federal officer die trapped under an animal?" The weight on Hale's chest shifted. Morrison and Elena pulling from below, others reaching down from above, inch by inch. The lioness's body moved. Hale's ribs expanded fully for the first time in minutes. He gasped. SS rolled sideways, coughing. The lioness lay on her side, the surgical incision gaping. Her 3 cubs, 1 dead, 2 alive, scattered around her. The older cub limped over, sniffed its dead sibling, then curled against its mother's chest. The newborn, the one Hale had delivered, crawled over her leg to reach a nipple, began nursing weakly. "She's conscious," Elena said quietly. "She can't move, can't feel below the break. But she knows." The lioness's eye found Hale again. He crawled over, his legs still shaky, sat beside her massive head. Her breath came in short puffs, each one shallower than the last. Thompson," Sheriff Brennan's voice carried down, "you're going to tell me exactly where those males came from, every detail." "I want a lawyer." "You'll need one. Federal wildlife violations, reckless endangerment, and if Officer Hale had been crushed, manslaughter charges." The lioness made a sound, so quiet Hale almost missed it, not a growl or moan. A rumble from deep in her chest, purring. Mountain lions rarely purred, only in extreme contentment, or Hale had read once when dying. A self-soothing mechanism. "How long?" he asked Elena. "Minutes, maybe less." The older cub started that crying again, pressing against its mother, the surgical cub. The one Elena had saved lifted its head weakly, eyes still sealed shut, mouth opening in silent muse. "We can't leave them here," Morrison said. "The males will come back." "They can't survive without her," Elena replied. "Even with bottle feeding cubs this young, the survival rate is less than 10%. "Then we try," Hale said. "Sam, we try." Garrick's face appeared at the depression's edge. "There's something else. Sarah's been on the phone with Phoenix. That tattoo number, F40, they have records. And she was pregnant when they released her 3 years ago. First litter, the cubs survived. Were spotted multiple times the first year, 2 females, 1 male. So, the male had a collar. Solar-powered GP lost signal 18 months ago, but the last known location. Garrick paused. It was near Thompson's southern property, where he started having his predator problem. Hale looked at the dying lioness. Understanding crashed over him. The male that was stalking her, the one with the collar scar. Garrick nodded grimly. DNA test would confirm it, but the timeline fits. The lioness had been hunted by her own son. The cub Thompson had captured, collared, and released, turned into a problem animal by human interference, now driven by instinct to kill his mother's new litter. That's why she fought so hard, Elena said softly. She knew his scent. The lioness's breathing slowed, stopped, started again with visible effort. Her eye began to glaze, but still tracked movement, still aware. "Sheriff," someone called from above. "We've got company. 3 cats, Western Ridge." The males were back, waiting. The lioness's ribcage stopped moving. Hale pressed 2 fingers against her throat. Nothing. Then a flutter. Another breath, barely visible. Her eye fixed on the smallest cub, the one Elena had cut from her body. It lay against her cheek, pink mouth working against air, searching for milk it would never find. "Movement on the ridge," Henderson called down. "They're spreading out." 3 shapes against the darkening sky. The males had positioned themselves at compass points around the depression. The one with the collar scar, her son, stood directly west, silhouetted by the setting sun. "Nobody shoots," Brennan ordered. "First person who fires gets arrested." "Sheriff, those are man-killers," Thompson protested. "Those are animals you illegally transported across state lines." Brennan's voice carried cold authority. "My deputy's already at your ranch with a warrant. Every document, every receipt, every communication about those cats." The lioness breathed again, a wet rattle in her throat. Blood trickled from her nostrils, darker now, thicker. The older cub pressed against her neck, its injured legs stretched awkwardly. It had stopped crying. It just trembled against its mother's cooling body. "Elena," Hale said, "the cubs need milk. Now, I don't have replacement formula here. We'd need to get them to the clinic. How long can they last? The newborns 6 hours, maybe 8. They need colostrum antibodies from mother's milk. Without it—" She didn't finish. Morrison climbed back up, boots scraping court. "I'll drive it them. I can make town in 20 minutes. In the dark with those males out there." "I'll take them," Sarah Chen's voice, firm. "I've raised orphaned calves. Same principle." "It's not the same," Elena said. "Mountain lion cubs need specific nutrients. Temperature regulation. The formula has to be—" "Then you come with me." Sarah appeared at the depression's edge, her restaurant apron still tied around her waist. "We take them now while they're still light." The lioness's eye moved toward the voices. Her jaw opened slightly, tongue visible between her fangs. The purring had stopped. Each breath came separated by longer pauses. "We can't move them," Garrick said. But his voice had changed, softer. "She's still alive. You take her babies while she's watching." "She knows," Hale said. He kept his hand on the lioness's neck, feeling each weakening pulse. "Look at her. She knows." The lioness's eye tracked to each cub in turn. The dead one, already stiffening. The older one with the injured leg. The 2 newborns, blind and helpless. Then back to Hale. "Mr. Garrick," Elena said. "Your barn, the one you mentioned, is it warm?" "Heated. Martha used to—" His voice caught. She used to bring injured animals there. In winter. Then we take them all. Her, too. She won't survive transport, Elena said. She won't survive anyway. Garrick's boots appeared on the wall, descending. But she doesn't die in this hole. Two ranchers rappelled down with a makeshift stretcher, a tarp stretched between fence posts. The lioness didn't react as they positioned it beside her. Her breathing had become irregular. Long pauses between each inhale. Careful with her spine, Elena directed. They rolled her onto the tarp, the surgical incision gaping wider. The cubs tumbled away from her body. Morrison gathered them, placed them in a blanket-lined box Elena had prepared, all except the older one, which backed against the wall, hissing weakly. "Let me," Hale said. He approached slowly, aware of the small claws, the needle teeth. The cub watched him with eyes exactly like its mother's. When he reached for it, it didn't fight, just went limp, like prey playing dead. 4 men lifted the stretcher. The lioness's head lolled to one side, eyes still open, but unfocused now. They raised her carefully, passing the stretcher up to waiting hands above. The sunset painted everything orange and red. "The males," Henderson warned. "They're moving!" The 3 cats had come closer, maybe 50 yards from the vehicles. They didn't approach directly, instead circled wide, testing the human perimeter. The scarred one, the son kept his attention fixed on the stretcher. "Start the trucks," Brennan ordered. Headlights on full. Engines roared to life. Light flooded the desert. The males froze, eyes reflecting green in the beams. But they didn't flee. "They'll follow," Thompson said. "To Garrick's place. You're bringing predators right to my land." Garrick cut him off. "My choice." The convoy formed quickly. Garrick's truck in front with the lioness in the bed, Elena's vehicle with the cubs, 2 sheriff's cars bracketing them, the ranchers' trucks following, whether from concern or morbid curiosity. Hale couldn't tell. He rode in the truck bed with the lioness, one hand on her side. Her breathing had almost stopped, maybe 3 breaths per minute. Her eye had rolled back, showing white, but occasionally it would focus, track something invisible, then fade again. The males followed at a distance, shadows flowing between shadows just beyond the headlight reach. "Still there," Morrison called from the sheriff's car. Garrick's barn sat a quarter-mile from his house, a massive structure from the ranch's better days. He pulled directly inside, the convoy following. The males wouldn't enter a building, Hale hoped. The barn still smelled of Martha lavender sachets she'd hung from rafters, now covered in dust. Animal cages lined one wall, all empty. A surgical table, unused for 2 years. Heat lamps that flickered on when Garrick hit the switch. They transferred the lioness to a bed of hay bales covered with blankets. Elena worked on the cubs, checking vitals, inserting tiny IV lines for fluids. The older cub she sedated lightly to treat its leg infected, but not beyond saving. "Formula's mixed," Sarah announced, returning from Garrick's kitchen with bottles. "Goat milk-based, egg yolk, sauce, vitamins," Elena specified. The newborns took the bottles weekly, a few drops at a time. The surgical cub wouldn't latch at all, too traumatized from its birth. The lioness lay still except for the occasional breath. Her eye had closed. Hale sat beside her, hand on her shoulder. The fur was coarse, full of burrs and dried blood. He picked them out, one by one. A pointless gesture, but something to do. "Mr. Garrick," Morrison said from the doorway. "The males, they're here." Through the barn window, 3 pairs of eyes glowed in the darkness. They'd followed the convoy, taken position around the barn, waiting. "Let them wait," Garrick said. He stood beside the lioness, looking down at her. Martha would have done this. Exactly this. Brought them all here, tried to save them, even knowing what would happen, Elena asked. Especially then. The lioness took another breath, then nothing, for a full minute, then one more. So shallow. Hale barely felt it. She's letting go, Elena said softly. The older cub, despite the sedation, crawled to its mother. It curled against her chest, in the space between her front legs, the same spot where it had probably slept every night of its short life. "There's something you should see," Morrison said, holding his phone. The warrant team at Thompson's ranch found documents, purchase receipts for cats from Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, capture locations, release dates, and this lioness's son, the one with the collar scar. Thompson bought him from a ranch near Tucson 6 months ago. But there's more. Morrison's face was pale in the phone's light. The seller's notes say the cat was captured after killing 3 calves. But the calves weren't killed for food. They were practice. Young males do that when they're learning to hunt alone. But this one never stopped. The seller wrote that the cat seemed to prefer killing livestock to wild prey, called him psychologically damaged. Hale looked through the window at the glowing eyes. The scarred male had moved closer, now only 20 feet from the barn wall. Thompson knew, Elena said. He bought a problem cat and released it here. He bought 17 problem cats, Morrison corrected. Released them all within 50 miles. This was just the only one that survived. The lioness's breathing stopped. Hale counted 10 seconds, 20, 30. Then a gasp. Her eye opened wide, pupil dilated fully. She looked directly at Hale, and in that moment he saw something that made his blood cold. Recognition, not of him, but of something behind him. Her lips pulled back from her teeth. A warning. Hale turned. The barn's back door stood open. It had been closed when they arrived. In the doorway, eyes reflecting the heat lamp's red glow, stood the scarred male. The scarred male filled the doorway. 8 feet from the dying lioness, 6 feet from the cubs. Nobody moved. Morrison's hand hovered near his weapon. Elena stood frozen over the medical supplies. Garrick held a pitchfork he'd grabbed from the wall, knuckles white on the handle. The male's eyes swept the barn, cataloging threats. The collar had worn a permanent groove in his neck fur, pink scar tissue visible beneath. His right shoulder bore parallel scars wire damage, as Garrick had noted to sort, but the muscles beneath rippled with power. The lioness tried to lift her head, failed. A sound emerged from her throat, not quite a growl, more like a question. Her paralyzed body couldn't respond, but her eyes tracked her son's movement. He stepped inside. Straw crackled under his paws. His nostrils flared, taking in the scent of blood, milk, death. His gaze fixed on the cubs. "Nobody shoot," Hale said quietly. "You miss in here. You'll hit someone else." The male took another step. His attention locked on the older cub curled against its mother. The cub's eyes opened, saw the male, and pressed deeper into the lioness's chest. "That's her son," Morrison whispered. "He doesn't know, does he? He doesn't recognize her." But Hale wasn't sure. The male's behavior was wrong. A cat intent on killing cubs would move fast, decisive. This one advanced slowly, almost cautiously. Sarah Chen appeared in the main doorway behind them, carrying more formula. She froze, taking in the scene. "Don't run, Elena said without turning. "Back out slowly." The male's head swiveled toward Sarah. She stood perfectly still, bottles clutched to her chest. The male dismissed her, attention returning to the lioness. He moved closer, 4 feet now. The lioness's breathing quick and rapid. Shallow pants. Her eye rolled, trying to see him. The male lowered his head, sniffing. His nose almost touched her surgical incision. Then he recoiled. Not from the wound, but from her scent. His pupils dilated. A sound emerged from his chest confusion. Maybe recognition. He knows her, Elena breathed. The male circled the hay bales, keeping distance, but not leaving. His eyes kept returning to the lioness's face. She watched him when she could, her eye following his movement until he passed beyond her paralyzed range of motion. Morrison's phone vibrated. He glanced at it, then showed Hale the screen. A photo from Thompson's ranch filing cabinets, documents scattered, one paper highlighted, Lot 7 mail, approx 2 years, collar 429 AZ, a damn F-42, captured at F-42, the lioness's designation. Thompson knew, Morrison whispered. He knew he was buying her son. The male completed his circle, stood again near the door. He looked at the cubs, then at his mother, back to the cubs. His tail twitched, not the lash of hunting, but something else. Mr. Garrick, Elena said carefully, in Martha's notes about animal behavior, did she ever mention infanticide in lions? She did. Garrick's voice was rough. Said it was about genetics. Males kill cubs that aren't theirs. But their own... He trailed off. Their own offspring they recognize by scent. Elena finished. These cubs share his mother's scent, his genetics. The male sat down, just sat, like a house cat, tail curled around his paws. He watched the lioness struggle for each breath. We need to get out, Henderson called from outside. All of us. Let nature handle this. This isn't nature, Garrick said. His voice had changed, harder now. Thompson made this, bought cats, dumped them, created this whole mess. That's not proven, Morrison. Garrick interrupted. Check Martha's phone. Should still be in the kitchen drawer. Sir, just check it. Morrison edged past the male, who tracked him but didn't move. The young officer disappeared into the house, returned minutes later with an old iPhone. Password, he asked. 17, our anniversary. Garrick's voice caught on the date. Morrison scrolled. His face went pale. Mr. Garrick, these photos. He held up the phone. Image after image of dumped carcasses. Dated 2 years ago. Location tags showed Thompson's property. One photo showed Martha's hand holding a contaminated water sample. She knew, Garrick said. She was documenting it. Another photo. Martha's arm. A deep gash from barbed wire. The next photo, the same wound, already red and swollen. The metadata showed it was taken 3 hours later. She didn't go to the hospital, Morrison said. Not for 6 hours. She kept photographing, collecting evidence. By the time she went, the infection had spread. Garrick's voice was hollow. Doctor said if she'd come in immediately, but she wanted to document everything, said it was too important. The lioness coughed. Blood sprayed from her nostrils, dotting the straw. The male stood, moved closer. He sniffed the blood, then looked directly at Hale. Not through him, at him. She was trying to protect them, Elena said. Martha was trying to protect the cats from Thompson. And it killed her. Garrick's knuckles were white on the pitchfork. Her compassion killed her. The lioness's body convulsed. Another cub was moving inside her. Impossible. But Hale saw the bulge shift in her abdomen. Elena grabbed her surgical kit. There's another one. How did I miss? She ran her hands over the lioness's belly. No, that's not. That's internal bleeding. Massive hemorrhage. The lioness's eye found Garrick. She looked at him steadily, then at her cubs. then back to him. The same look she'd given Hale earlier, asking. "She wants something," Sarah said from the doorway. Garrick set down the pitchfork. He moved past the male who watched but didn't react and knelt beside the lioness. His weathered hand touched her head, fingers finding the seat between her ears. "Martha would have fought for you," he said. "Would have gotten you justice." The lioness blinked, once, slow and deliberate. "The photos," Morrison said suddenly. "Martha sent them somewhere. There's an email draft here, addressed to Federal Wildlife Services. Never sent. She died before she could send it," Elena said. "No," Morrison kept reading. "The timestamp? She wrote this after she was admitted to the hospital. She was trying to send it from her hospital bed." Garrick's hand stilled on the lioness's head. "She chose the cats over treatment, spent her last hours trying to protect them instead of fighting the infection." The lioness's breathing slowed, 5 seconds between breaths. 10. Her eye started to glaze. The male moved to face her directly. Mother and son, eyes locked. She tried to lift her head one final time, managed an inch. Her lips pulled back, not aggression, but the expression cats made when processing scent. She was trying to smell him, to confirm what she already knew. The male leaned down. Their noses almost touched. She exhaled a long, rattling breath that seemed to go on forever. Her eye stayed open, but the light went out of it. The older cub mewed, pressed against its mother's still chest. The male looked at it, then at the newborns Elena held. He turned toward the door. "Wait," Garrick said. The male paused but didn't look back. "Your mother F-42. The state says she failed. Says the reintroduction program failed." Garrick's voice was steady now. "But she didn't fail. She survived 3 years, had multiple litters, adapted. She succeeded until humans interfered." The male's ear twitched. Acknowledgement or coincidence? Hale couldn't tell. "I'll send Martha's photos," Garrick continued. "Thompson will pay for what he did. To your mother, to Martha, to all of them." The male walked through the doorway, melted into darkness. The other males were gone too, their eye shine no longer visible. Elena checked the lioness's pulse, shook her head. "She's gone." The older cub climbed onto its mother's body, curled on her side. It began that crying again, 3 long calls. Pause. 3 long calls. Pause. "It's calling her," Morrison said. "No," Hale said, understanding finally. "It's calling for help. It learned from watching. It knows the pattern works." Sarah entered with towels, began wrapping the newborns. "We need to get them warm, fed. They'll need round-the-clock care." "I'll do it," Garrick said. Everyone turned to stare. "Martha would want—" "I'll do it," Elena nodded. "They'll need to be fed every 2 hours. The older one's leg needs daily treatment. And, Mr. Garrick, the survival rate, I know the odds." He looked at the lioness's still form. "But Martha believed in fighting bad odds." A sound from outside. Vehicles approaching, multiple engines. Morrison checked his phone. "That's not our people. Through the window, huh?" Headlights swept across the desert. 4 trucks, moving fast, heading straight for the barn. Henderson grabbed his rifle. Thompson's crew, coming to finish what he started. The truck skidded to stops outside the barn, doors slamming. But the voices that emerged weren't Thompson's crew. "Sam Hale, you in there?" A woman's voice, authoritative. Morrison lowered his weapon. "That's Deputy Director Chen from Federal Wildlife." "Chen?" Sarah looked confused. "Any relation—" "My cousin," Sarah said. "I called her an hour ago." 4 federal agents entered the barn, followed by a woman in field gear. Director Patricia Chen surveyed the scene, the dead lioness, the cubs, the assembled ranchers. "Mr. Thompson is in federal custody," she announced. "Interstate trafficking of wildlife, violation of the Endangered Species Act, falsifying permits. We've been building a case for months. Tonight gave us what we needed." "You knew?" Brennan stepped forward. "We suspected. Martha Garrick sent us partial documentation 2 years ago. Corrupted files, incomplete data. We've been trying to verify ever since." "Martha sent them." Garrick's voice cracked. "But Morrison said the email was never—" "She sent an earlier batch from her phone in the hospital. Managed to upload some photos to our server before—" Patricia Chen paused. "Before she passed. We've been investigating since then, but needed proof of the actual releases." Garrick sank onto a hay bale. His hand shook as he rubbed his face. "The males that were here," Patricia continued. "We need to locate them." "Gone," Hale said. "Scattered when their mother died." Patricia knelt beside the lioness, examining the ear tattoo. F42. One of our success stories until this. She looked at the cubs. "These need immediate, specialized care." "I'm taking them," Garrick said. "Sir, with respect, you're not equipped. My wife was." His voice gained strength. "This barn has everything. Helena knows the protocols. I'll hire help if needed." Patricia studied him. "The older one, maybe. But the newborns need specialized. They need consistency." Helena interrupted. "Moving them now. New handlers, new environment. It'll kill them. Mr. Garrick's right. Martha set this place up properly." The older cub had stopped crying, curled against its mother's cooling body. Sarah held the 2 newborns, their tiny mouths working against the bottles. 8 weeks, Patricia said finally. "That's what they need before release consideration. You think you can manage 8 weeks? I'll manage what needs managing," Garrick said. 2 weeks later, Hale found Garrick in the barn at 3 a.m., feeding the smallest cub, the one Elena had cut from its mother. It had finally started taking formula properly, tiny paws kneading against the bottle. "Can't sleep?" Hale asked. "Every 2 hours." Garrick said, "Like clockwork. The older one wakes them if I'm late." The older cub, Garrick, refused to name them. Said it would make release harder, had recovered from its leg injury. It watched from a large kennel, alert and protective of its siblings. "Morrison says Thompson took a plea deal," Hale said. 5 years federal prison, lifetime ban on animal ownership. Should have been more. He gave up his suppliers, whole network of illegal animal traffickers. Patricia's team is rolling them up state by state." Garrick switched cubs, picking up the second newborn. This one was stronger, demanding, gulped formula greedily. "Martha would have been proud," Hale said. "Martha would have done it better." Garrick's voice was matter-of-fact. "But she's not here, so I do what I can." 8 weeks later, dawn came gray and cold to the release site, a natural spring 20 miles into the preserve. The cubs had grown, the older one nearly 40 pounds, the twins half that. They paced in their transport carriers, ready. Elena checked them one final time. "Vitals good? They're healthy." Patricia Chen's team had cameras positioned, monitoring equipment ready. "The resident females in this area have been seen with cubs. Good chance they'll accept these." Garrick knelt by the carriers. He'd aged in the past 2 months, but something in his face had softened. The wall he'd built after Martha's death had gaps now. "Your mother was F42, he told them quietly. "But she was more than a number. She survived 3 years in the wild, had multiple litters. She died protecting you." He opened the carriers. The older cub emerged first, cautious. It sniffed the air, tested the ground, The twins followed, staying close to their sibling. They moved toward the spring, drawn by the sound of water. There, Patricia pointed. A female lion watched from the ridge, one of the residents. She had 2 cubs with her, similar age to the orphans. The older cub saw her, froze, made a sound not the crying call it had used for help, but something else, a question. The female descended slowly. Her cubs followed. They met at the spring's edge, sniffing, circling. The resident female inspected each orphan, her tail twitching. Then she turned, walked back toward the ridge, looked back once. The orphans followed. "That's it," Morrison asked. "They just accept them." "Sometimes, Patricia said, "if the chemistry's right, if the timing works, if the female has resources to spare." The cats disappeared into the rocks, heading deeper into the preserve. "Will we know it?" Garrick asked. "If they survive. The older one has a GP chip." Elena said, "We'll monitor from distance." Garrick nodded, turned toward his truck, stopped. "Martha believed every life deserved a chance," he said, "even when the odds were impossible, even when it cost everything." He looked at Hale. "Your boy, Danny. You gave him that chance." "He died anyway," Hale said quietly. "But he lived first, however briefly. These cubs got 8 weeks they wouldn't have had. Their mother got to see them born. Sometimes that's all we can give." 3 months after Hale returned to the Spring Monthly, never saw the cubs directly, but found signs. Tracks by the water, a deer kill, cleanly taken, claw marks on a tree, marking territory. Once, just once, eyes reflected his flashlight from the rocks above. Gold eyes, steady and unafraid, watching him the way their mother had watched. Not with trust exactly, but with recognition and acknowledgement between species that had briefly intersected, left their marks, and moved on. He thought about Danny then, about last chances and final looks, about the debts we carry and the ones we can never fully pay. The eyes blinked once, then vanished into dark tightness. Some debts can't be paid. They can only be honored. I've told you this story because 3 years later, I still visit that spring. Not for the cats, they've moved deeper into the preserve, thriving according to Patricia's reports. I go because that night changed our community. Garrick opened Martha's Wildlife Education Center in his barn. Thompson's Ranch became a rehabilitation facility. Sarah Chen sponsors formula for orphaned cubs. Even Henderson and Warren donate hay and supplies now. We learned that the walls we build after loss don't protect us, they isolate us. Sometimes it takes another species entirely to remind us that healing happens when we risk helping, when we choose connection over safety, when we honor our debts to each other and to the wild things that share our world. Disclaimer: this is a work of fiction inspired by wildlife conservation stories created solely for entertainment purposes. This story does not condone, encourage, or promote any form of violence or harmful behavior toward animals or humans. All characters and events are products of the author's imagination, and any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. The story aims to promote compassion, conservation, and coexistence between humans and wildlife. No animals were harmed in the creation of this narrative.